You already know that print can write to your terminal, but did you know that it can write directly to a file too? In this video, we're going to use that trick to solve a real-world problem by creating a simple and effective logger. Let's get started. Alright, so here's the situation. An incident just came in. A client's app is malfunctioning and crashing. Now, a little background. This app was supposed to be for validation only, but somewhere along the line, management put production on a PowerPoint slide, and well, here we are. To make things even more interesting, the original author doesn't work here anymore. The good news? We have the code, and the code base is small. The bad news? Our lead is stressed and wants this fixed by the end of the day. Looking at the code, we can see that it has error detection, but it only prints to the console. Looking at the code, we can tell that it has error detection, but it only prints to the terminal. That's completely useless if the app crashes, which it is. So we have no log files to search through. Alright, let's talk approach. With a fire like this, you have to divide and conquer. The team's already split up the work. One person is on the phone with the client, trying to get some more context. Two are managing the code base, and that leaves us. We are the logging team. Our job is to make sure that the next time this app crashes, we have something to go on. Let's dig in. So our objective is simple. Get errors logged to a file. Now, we know that there's this big fancy library for logging in Python, but we don't have the time to learn and implement it right now. We need a quick, reliable fix to get this thing stable. We can work on a more elegant solution later. For now, our logger just needs to write the current timestamp and the error message to a simple log file. First, we'll test the format in the terminal. Then we'll figure out how to get it into a file. I'll do some research on how to write to files while you work on the message format. Our solution requires a message to log and the current timestamp. You import the datetime library to get the current date. You define a message to be output, and then you store the current timestamp. Next, you print out the variables. You even placed an extra hyphen to separate the two. Here's the code so far. Let's do a quick review. First, you imported the datetime module to get the current timestamp. Next, you defined a message, got the current timestamp, and then printed the two. Each are separated with a hyphen as designed. Let's test. Alright, looks like we got what we expected. Well done. Now we need to take that output and put it into a file instead of the terminal. The information that displayed is only useful if we can see it. The terminal doesn't retain information if the app closes or crashes. What I found from my research is that there are many potential ways to write a file. Let's touch on a few of those methods. The basic approach is to open a file using the open function, write string data, and then close the file. We can use the append mode in the open function to add to a file rather than replacing all of the contents every single time. The problem here is that we need to track and remember to close the file stream anytime we open it. A better approach is to use with to handle the file stream. We use the same method to open it, but use with to handle the file stream, which will close the file automatically after we leave that block of code. You may have noticed that in file.write we have to manually convert the timestamp to a string and mash everything together. It's clumsy, really. So why couldn't we just pass in parameters like we do in a print statement? I'll show you why. Because file.write does not support it. It supports a single string parameter as input. This is the error that you'll get whenever you run the previous code along with valid variables. Would it be nice if we could just use print to write the file instead? I mean, is that even an option? We are already familiar with the print statement, and it handles most of the formatting for us automatically, resulting in less time coding. But can we even do something like that with a print statement? Absolutely. Okay, so checking the documentation, I found the key. The answer lies in the usage documentation. First, I found out how print can handle passing in so many parameters. It turns out that we use the objects parameter when passing in so many values. The asterisk tells the interpreter that we're expecting any number of positional or unnamed parameters. You'll notice after this, each parameter has a name. But that's not the most interesting bit. It turns out that print doesn't even write to the terminal. It writes to something called a stream. And by default, that stream is the terminal. We can tell it to write to a different stream, say a file, using the file parameter. With this research, I was able to complete a simple script. In theory, we should be able to plug your code in before mine and it should work. I simply took the traditional method and replaced file.write with a print statement. specifying the stream to print to. You pointed out that we need to separate the timestamp and message with a hyphen. Good catch. I use a separator parameter to do this for us. Your way of adding the hyphen in manually works for this case. However, if we were to add any additional parameters, they would be separated by spaces instead. Now that we have both of our parts done, let's put them together and test. Ah, that's looking good. Finally have everything together. Ready for testing, I think. Let's run the scripts. Nothing. Or so it seems. We printed, but not to the standard output. We wrote to the file stream. This means that nothing will be printed to the terminal. We can verify by checking to see if both our file was created and was written to. We were able to open the file, and we could see that the message was indeed written to the text file. We need to test again to make sure that future messages will be appended rather than replacing all the contents. So we run again, and perfect. Looks like everything is working well. One thing to note is that our solution requires quite a few lines of code. We can make the lives of everyone better and keep our code shorter by writing a helper function. The idea of the helper function is that we only will need 2 lines of code to implement. One will be for importing our helper function, and then another for each time we have to call it. So to create a useful helper function, we move the message and the file path to the function parameters. We'll leave the timestamp as we will need to calculate that on the fly. These changes have been updated in both the function definition as well as the print statement. Notice that we are using an asterisk to pass in messages now, and that we changed the name for message to messages. This allows us to pass in multiple positional parameters, just like in the print statement. Notice that we're using an asterisk to pass in messages now. This will allow us to pass in multiple positional parameters, just like in the print statement. This has been updated in both the function definition as well as the print statement. The file path parameter points to log.txt. The file path parameter defaults to log.txt. This allows flexibility in the future without changing the current usage. Before we pass the helper function off to the implementation team, we need to run one last test, as we do with any change that we make to our scripts. In this test implementation, notice that our log helper function is called twice. Neither changed the file path, so we can expect to see any log messages to appear in log.txt. Before we pass the log helper function off to the implementation team, we need to run one last test as we do with any change we make to our scripts. In this test implementation, notice that our log helper function is called twice. Neither changed the file path, so we can expect to see any log messages to appear in log.txt. The first log call passes in one message parameter and the second passes in 2. We made our function in such a way that it does not require string formatting. Instead, it channels into the power of the print statement. When this code runs, we will simulate a division error, which will log the first message. Should any other error occur, the second log function will be called. When we run the test implementation, we can see that the error was successfully logged. Our part is fully complete and ready for the implementation team. They were pleased with our solution. They loved the one-liner and were able to implement swiftly. The root cause was discovered in our testing thanks in part to our logging functionality. After pushing the fixed code, the client informed our point of contact that the issue had gone away. The issue has been resolved, and our team lead has heaved a great sigh of relief. Oh, and the crisis was resolved just in time for lunch. So, we covered a lot of ground today. If some of these concepts are new, and you don't quite understand them, that's perfectly normal. The best way to learn is by doing, and you just built a practical tool. In the next video, we're going to dive even deeper into the print function itself. In the next video, we're going to dive even deeper into the print function and master all of its parameters. Thanks for being such a great teammate today, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.